Hi, I'm Marc, and welcome to the weekly Outside Views report on the politics of the European Union. The European Commission wants to boost ammunition production in Europe and promote it with 1 billion euros. This is good news for Ukraine, but also strengthens European defense capabilities, said Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Tuesday evening at a meeting with the new Czech President Petr Pavel in Prague. Everything is currently about speed, she said. Von der Leyen announced that a legislative proposal on the ammunition plan would be presented to the College of EU Commissioners this Wednesday. Among other things, it should ensure that regulations are simplified and approval procedures are accelerated. According to the Commission's proposal, 500 million euros in EU money should be made available to finance the expansion of ammunition production. According to the plans, a further 500 million euros would come as co-financing from the member states. The background to the plan is, among other things, the promise made by the EU in March to supply Ukraine with 1 million new artillery shells within 12 months to fight the aggressor Russia. These are intended to prevent bottlenecks in the Ukrainian armed forces and enable them to launch new offensives against the attackers from Russia. EU Industry Commissioner Thierry Breton commented on the new funding project that he was confident that production capacities in Europe could be increased to 1 million shots per year within 12 months. The industrial base for ammunition production in Europe is there and has the potential to meet the needs of Ukraine and member states. It's what he said at the planned presentation of the plans on Wednesday. But the industrial base must now be revitalized in order to adapt it to the needs of a high-intensity conflict. When it comes to defense, our industry needs to switch to war economy mode now, is what Breton said. Before Ukraine's expected spring offensive, Denmark is also making further military material available to the country attacked by Russia. The support package worth 1.7 billion Danish kroner, that's around 228 million euros, is the largest that Ukraine has received from the Scandinavian EU countries so far. And that was announced by the Danish Ministry of Defense on Tuesday. It therefore includes, among other things, mine clearance and armored recovery vehicles, ammunition, and a financial contribution to the procurement of air defense. It is intended to strengthen Ukraine's ability to conduct an offensive in the coming months. Denmark has consistently supported Ukraine with military and financial aid since the Russian invasion in February 2022 began. In the ongoing war, an early Ukrainian offensive to recapture Russian-occupied areas is expected, as I said. And according to Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov, the preparations for this are in the final phase. And in addition, Denmark wants to offer NATO a battalion with 700 to 1,200 soldiers to defend the Baltic states from mid-2024. According to the Ritzau news agency, acting Danish Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen and Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen announced this on Tuesday after a meeting of the Parliamentary Foreign Affairs Committee in Copenhagen. And in Poland, the largest military exercise of the year began on Tuesday. More than 12,000 Polish soldiers and several hundred soldiers from the United States and other NATO allies took part in the exercise, codenamed Anaconda 23, from May 2nd to May 26th, according to TV news channel TVN24 Online. The Polish General Staff announced the start of the exercise on Twitter on Monday and pointed out that military transports were expected to cause traffic problems throughout the country. The EU and NATO country borders directly on Ukraine, which has been attacked by Russia and is one of its most important political and military supporters. In April, Defense Minister Mariusz Błaszczak justified his desire for German Patriot air defense systems to remain in Poland with the words, "Poland is the most important hub when it comes to supporting Ukraine." Poland is not only supplying Ukraine with tanks, combat aircraft, and large quantities of other armaments, but is also heavily upgrading its own army as part of an ambitious modernization program. The National Conservative government wants Poland's army to become the strongest in Europe within the next 2 years. And Blaszczak promised this at an election rally at the end of April. And the war is still going on, and according to British intelligence services, Russia does not have enough ammunition to make decisive progress in the offensives in Ukraine. According to the short report by the British Ministry of Defense on Tuesday, Moscow is giving top priority to strengthening the armaments industry, but the industry is still not doing justice to the high war needs. Russia's political leadership demands success on the battlefield, while leaders in charge of logistics fall by the wayside, it says. As an example, the British cite the recent dismissal of Deputy Defense Minister Mikhail Mizintsev, who was responsible for the material and technical supplies of the army for 8 months. His replacement was confirmed last week, and Colonel General Alexei Kuzmenkov, previously Deputy Director of the National Guard, has now taken over this job. The shortage of ammunition is also leading to internal disputes, especially between the army and the head of the notorious Russian mercenary group Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin. The Ministry of Defense in London has been publishing daily information on the course of the war since the war of aggression began from the Russian side against Ukraine, and they are always citing intelligence information. Moscow accuses London of a disinformation campaign, though. But, of course, they only like their propaganda and not some information from, I don't say 100% true, but more reliable sources. In a war, you will never find 100% of the truth on either side. But I know which information is more reliable than the other, especially with all the Russian trolls on their way here on YouTube trying to troll the comment sections. But sometimes it's really just ridiculous. Nevertheless, I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.